We all have a dark side, or our shadow. You don't want to admit it or aren't even aware of it, but we all do. I did a conference many years ago with Brew Joy in America, and it was a shadow side conference, and he asked us what our deepest fear was. And my deepest fear was being poor, being on the street, being a drug addict, being an alcoholic. And I had so much judgment on it because of my fear. So I ran totally in the other direction. And he asked us to play out that. So we had to remain, like I played a totally out of control drug addict on the street, homeless, in order to own that part of ourselves. Because guess what? I'd attracted all my life. My father was an alcoholic, 2 addicted children, alcoholic husband who died of sclerosis of the liver. I'd attracted that because that was my deepest fear. I had no idea it was, but it was buried deep inside me. So that's what we call the shadow side, and that's what we've repressed. We repress it because, you know, as children we grow up, and to survive we have to please mommy and daddy. So we learn to do the things that please them. The dark side, or the negative side of our personality, we push down and pretend to be these angelic beings. But guess what? All of the stuff we push down is still there. And the more we push it down, and like as adults, a lot of people were told, don't express your feelings, don't tell the truth, don't, keep it down, keep a lid on it. Emotions are scary. If you take the lid off the can of worms, it's so scary. But all these feelings are inside of us, and at a certain time, the lid will come off. It did for me with my ex-husband. For 15 years, he was abusive, he was domineering. I never said a word, but I took it all in, and there was a lot of anger gone inside of me. And after 15 years, it was like this red primal rage came up from my solar plexus and right through my arm. I grabbed a bottle on the table and started hitting him and hitting him. 6'2" he was. This voice said, one more hit, you'll kill him. So I dropped the bottle. But this rage had taken over. Scared me to death. And then at this conference, I learned what it was. Unless you deal with your emotions and don't send them underground, it'll come up at a very inopportune times. We've all heard stories of a politician, and he's a perfect person, and all of a sudden he erupts and does something crazy, like going with a prostitute, or, complete opposite of his perfect character. And that's what our shadow is. So anything we deny in ourselves will come up, and we have to deal with it at some stage. And when my daughter was on drugs, again, this rage came up, and she was, I just was at the end of my tether. I couldn't control her. I couldn't stop her. I was in fear of her losing her life, and this rage came up again, and I just grabbed a carving knife. I said, well, we may as well end it right now. And this rage, I was shaking all over with rage. And then the doorbell rang, and I answered it with this carving knife in my hand, and it was my friend Janet at the door. He'd come all the way from Canada. She said, "Oh, have I come at a bad time?" I said, "I think you saved my daughter's life." The rage dispersed, but I was so scared out of my wits that I'd done that. So our shadow side can be anything, like, thinking, I grew up saying, "Oh, my mother's really mean." Well, looking at the good side of things, I was too open and giving, so being mean sometimes and saying no was a good thing. So it's looking at the duality, and we choose one side, like I'm good, they're bad, I'm generous, she's stingy, because I didn't like her being stingy, so I took on the other role. But then I learned that I had to learn to say no, and no was a good thing to take care of myself. So you see the flip side, but we are stuck in duality. This is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, But there's no duality, in fact. When you see the bigger picture, it's only decisions that we've made. And if we don't deal with our shadow side, it will deal with us in a big way. I've seen careers wrecked, marriages wrecked, very serious stuff, So have a look at your shadow and seeing all it needs is to be acknowledged, embraced, loved and accepted, like us all. And it's only a feeling, and it's only energy. It comes and goes, but really just wants to be acknowledged and validated, and then it releases us too. It makes us really free, and then this rage won't have to come up in me again and take over, because I've dealt with it. I've taken care of it, and don't attract people who are angry or with rage anymore either. That's my biggest fear. So it's very valuable to look at our shadow side, and a great gift to realize, gee, I've done everything in the book. I'm capable of everything. So I can actually own everything, and I don't have to point a finger like he's evil, she's evil. We all have it in to be Madonna or a whore or good or bad. It's very, like a policeman or a criminal. It's a very fine flip line there. So look at your dark side and just love, accept it and embrace it, and it'll be really happy, and it can come out of hiding.